Tonight, we have Deb Chaney. She began painting and selling her work in California at local fairs and coffee shops. 7 years later, she was an elected member of the Society of Canadian Artists. Predominantly self-taught, she now sells her contemporary abstract work to private collectors throughout the world. Her art has been commissioned for use in films by Rainmaker Films, Inc. Deb has taught abstract painting workshops in Vancouver, which is her hometown, and in California. She founded Illuminate the Artist Within, a company whose mission is to playfully and compassionately reach the artist inside everyone. She currently lives and works at the Art Studios here in Vancouver, where she participates in the East End Culture Crawl every year. Please join me in a warm welcome to Deb Chaney.
Thank you. My first question is, if I don't stand by the podium, can everyone in the back hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting some nods, so it's cool, because I don't like to be chained to a speaker. I've never, when I teach and when I speak, I like to really communicate with the audience. Hey, I just see a friend. and so I just feel like if I'm back here, I won't be able to do that. So good. If you can't hear me, maybe just put your hand up or let me know. This isn't TV, so I am real, and I actually could walk out here. So just keep that in mind. This is about participation. And let's see, the first question I want to ask you tonight is, do you consider yourself an artist? If yes, by a show of hands. Please put your hand up if you do. And if you don't consider yourself an artist, please put your hand up. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. This talk is called Illuminate the Artist Within. And so the presumption is that we're all artists. And I'm here to hopefully ignite that little spark in you that already exists, to illuminate it. It's actually why I feel like I was put on the planet. And I'm going to go under the assumption that we're all creators here. Whether or not you put your hand up and said, yes, I'm an artist, every day of your life you're making creative choices. Whether you chose to buy a burgundy fleece or a white sweater, or you're wearing a big white scarf or a blue parka, what color your car is, or what you do for work. Your whole life essentially is a creative choice. So in essence, if you're in the room with me, especially for tonight, you are an artist, you're a creator. And that's the underlying assumption for this talk tonight. So I'm getting some affirmation, some agreement. I appreciate that, good. That's the first thing. The second thing is I really want to acknowledge a few people that helped me be here. As much as a lot of artists, we work alone, I paint alone, it takes a huge amount of people in my life that support me, that make it possible for me to be here and for me to live my dream. And I want to start by thanking you all for being here. Thank you. There's so many other things you could be doing with your time, going out, watching TV, whatever it is you like doing, and yet you chose to be here with me tonight, and I just want to acknowledge that, and thank you very much for coming to listen, and hopefully you're going to learn some things and get inspired. I also want to thank Amber Ritchie, and she's the woman that introduced me. She's right in the back, and she organizes all the programs at the Vancouver Public Library. And I was very kind of her to take me on. I've actually never done any public speaking before, so that was sweet of her to take a risk with me, so thank you very much, Amber. And also at the back of the room, you'll see some books and some flyers, and my friend David is there at the back if you decide you want to purchase a book or you want more information about what I do, and he's just here on his own time. David, thank you so much. And lastly, Drew is my video guy, and he actually, we've worked together before. He videos some of the workshops that I teach. So Drew, thanks for finding where I was. I know you had trouble tonight, and thanks for coming out.
No problem, thank you.
Last but not least, and actually most importantly, I want to thank my parents, and they're not here, but my family are so huge in what I do. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and they're looking after her tonight, and without my parents, I really can't do what I do. So we are going to be putting this talk on YouTube. Hopefully Mom and Dad will watch. Thanks, Mom and Dad, I love you. So thanks for hearing that. All right. So So let's start with what I hope that you'll get out of this talk tonight and what I want to share with you, what you're going to learn. So to start, and if you read the flyer, I want to talk about what stops us from getting into creative process. So basically, we're going to talk about blocks. Can you read that back there?
No.
Oh, okay. Just listen really well. I can only write so big, and my handwriting's not the best, so.
Black ink?
Black. Do you guys want me to use black?
Yeah.
Sure. I have blue, too. Okay, so what I'm writing here is what stops us. This is one of the key questions I want to address tonight. Okay, it's kind of double, but don't worry. I'll erase it soon. So we're going to talk first of all about what stops us from getting into creative process. So many of us have dreams, and people meet me and they're like, you paint and that's your living? You're just an artist? And I'm like, yeah, it's my dream. I'm living my dream. And yet so many of us have that. We want to write a novel, or we want to paint, or whatever it is, you want to go on a travel adventure. And there's so many things that stop us from actually making it come to fruition. And we're going to get into that. What stops artists? And there's lots of things that stop us. So that's kind of the bad news. So we're going to talk about like the problem. And then we're going to move into the good news, and that is there's actually a lot of things you can do to get over your blocks and to succeed and make your creative dreams happen and get into your creative process. And I'm going to share with you tonight just a few tips and tricks that will hopefully get you excited and teach you how to sort of unlock that inner artist and getting beyond the blocks. Is that better to read in the back?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Beyond blocks. Okay. All right, and then, so those are the two main pieces of our talk tonight. And then the third thing is, why bother? Why do you even want to bother getting creative process? I mean, I used to live in Santa Barbara before I moved back to Vancouver, and I had these wonderful meditation teachers. Greg and Judith, they taught Vipassana. Anyone familiar with Vipassana meditation? Great, so we have a few practitioners. And they were amazing. They were such great teachers. And Greg used to say, yeah, I want to write a book about this, but you know, there's so many books on meditation. Why bother? Well, I really want to address that because that is the last piece of our talk tonight. And there's a ton of reasons why you should bother. And they're not the reasons that you might think, like that you become this great best-selling author or that everyone knows you or whatever. They're actually deeper than that, and they're really core as to why you should pursue that little whispering voice that's saying, you know, I want to write a book on meditation. So this last piece is the why bother piece. All right, this part, I'm just going to have a little water. This part is a little challenging for me, I have to share, because I'm used to teaching and I'm used to really involving the class. And part of me wants to say, all right, do you guys have any questions? But I know if I do that, I won't finish in an hour. So we'll leave the questions to the end, and if you have them, I'm going to actually pass out note paper and pens, and you can write them down. Because as an artist, I'm a big believer in like always keeping note paper with you, and then if you have that little idea, you have to write it down. It's kind of one of the little secrets. Okay, cool. So you guys heard about me. I just want to tell you a little bit about how I came to this information. Amber kindly shared with you my bio, so you know that I'm a contemporary abstract artist and I sell my paintings and I teach workshops, and that's my livelihood. And I actually had the privilege of studying with Dr. Robert Maurer. Has anyone here heard of the book Kaizen, One Small Step Will Change Your Life? No? Okay, interesting. So he's a medical doctor and he works at the UCLA School of Medicine for brain success. How do people succeed? And that's his interest in studying. And he joined up with a woman in San Diego, Jill Badonsky, and they created a 12-week program that they call the Creative Coaching Program. And they basically looked at what stops artists and how can we support artists to live their dreams. And I knew that I wanted to be an artist, and so I actually signed up for the course not to become a coach, but to selfishly support myself. And now here I get to share it all with you. So that's my background behind how I came to this information. Make sense? Okay, great, thank you. So I wanted to start by a show of hands of how many of you here today in the audience have a creative dream, have a whisper, something that you kind of want to do, or maybe you hear about me and I get to paint and play for a living and people buy these paintings. Something that you want to do that maybe you haven't had a chance to get to, or something stopping you from. So anyone in the room have a creative dream? Awesome. So great, we have a wide variety of creative dreams, and even if you didn't share it tonight, you may have one as well. And what I wanted to do was pass out pen and paper. And when they're done, they can go to the back to David. And please take a piece of paper and a pen if you don't have a pen. And I would like you to please write out what your dream is. Now, if you're not sure what your creative dream is, I want you to, just for tonight, command yourself and say, I know for tonight. Tonight I'm just going to make a stab, and I'm going to guess, and I'm just going to write a small little thing that I want to do. It can be very small. Simple little, maybe I'll make a flower arrangement at home on my kitchen table. It doesn't matter, but I really would like you to just force yourself in a way to write something down. So there's papers coming around, and when it gets to you, just write down your creative dream. Thank you. Okay. So that's kind of the fun part. We get to talk about what we want to do. But now we kind of get to the bad news part of the talk, where we have to own up to the fact that a lot of things stop artists. And there's sort of like, problems, we can call them challenges, whatever word resonates for you that come up. Now there's actually a lot of things that stop artists, and I could probably talk for 10 hours. But for the sake of Amber telling me I only had an hour, I chose 3 things tonight to share with you that are on the top of the list of things that stop people from making their creative dreams come true. So the first one is fear. You guys can read that? Black pen? Okay, so there's a lot about fear, and we're going to get into that. But that's one of the biggest things that stops artists. Okay, another one. Another one is procrastination. Anyone familiar with that? Okay, cool. All right. So this is a great talk. If we got a super duper procrastinator over there in the blue toque.
No, just so many of us are ESL. So can you explain to that?
Okay, ESL. If you speak French, I can help.
No, just
okay, so procrastination is simply this idea that you want to do something, but you sort of never get around to it. Like, oh, I'm going to go paint that wall in East Van next week. And then next week comes, and then, oh, but I'm busy, and I got to go grocery shopping, and I got to take the kids to soccer practice, and you never get there. And you kind of keep putting it off. And this is something that stops artists from their dreams coming true. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, and then the last one. The last one is overwhelm. And my coaches said that this is actually the #1 thing that stops us now in our today's world, because obviously there's so much all the time. It's crazy. But we're going to talk a little more about all 3 of these, and I'm actually going to ask for your input. So hopefully those pens and papers are going around. And if you don't get them and you have your own notepad with you, great. Just write down your little dream. I haven't forgotten. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about fear. So believe it or not, fear is something that really comes up with creative process. And there's a whole lot of fears that come up when often we think about living our dream. So I wanted to put it out to you guys and say, what comes up for you when you think about that dream that you wrote on that piece of paper? Any fears that you can just call them out? Yeah?
It's never going to be good enough.
It's never going to be good enough. So almost like fear of failure. Okay, so not good enough. Okay, yes. Did you have one?
Same thing.
Yeah?
And what do you think of writing draft?
Okay, so it's like a sort of like a self-judgment, like negative self-judgment. Okay.